Welcome back, Wolfpack. Today, we're going to do something a bit different and have a discussion, specifically on how behavior can possibly save Dead by Daylight. Before we can get into the meat of this, one of the first things we need to understand is one of the fundamental issues with the game, the ranking system, and how it's used. Normally, ranking systems within a PvP game are beneficial and pretty innocuous at worst. This simply is not true when it comes to Dead by Daylight. To prove this, all we need to do is look at the emblem system. On the survivor side, there's Lightbringer, Benevolent, Evader, and Unbroken. 4 different scoring categories that are entirely unrelated to the others, but are still necessary to help the team to escape. All 4 survivor emblems are designed to help survivors improve on their skills and get better at the game by scoring their overall performance in these 4 different categories. So when the devs look at high-ranking players, especially survivors who routinely overperform, they don't see any problems. They see a game design and balancing system that is working as intended. Which is why we almost never see any nerfs to perks or items on the survivor side. Which might also explain why it seems that changes to survivors for the killer's benefit only ever happen after the devs are humiliated live on Korean TV, or after killer mains start to abandon the game en masse. On another note, this might also explain why the devs are very slow or are very quiet about fixing any exploits being openly abused by survivors. Now, on the killer side, there's Gatekeeper, Devout, Malicious, and Chaser. Unlike the survivor emblems, killer emblems reflect how well the killer does in 4 categories that are completely dependent on the killer's overall performance. Moreover, when a killer is seen to be overperforming, this is viewed as a bad thing by the devs, who then nerf the killers. To better understand how and why the emblem system is used against killers, we first need to remember the devs' core philosophy for DBD: 2 escape, 2 killed. So this means if a killer is averaging 3 or more kills per game, they are overperforming in the eyes of the devs. With that in mind, when we carefully examine how killer emblems are calculated, one emblem in particular sticks out like a sore thumb: Devout. Devout calculates its scoring as thus: 2 points for every survivor killed or who disconnects, 1 point for hooking all survivors once, and 1 point for getting 9 hooks, and no points for survivors who bleed out. This means that there's a total of 10 possible points that can be earned in this category. In order to get bronze in Devout, a killer must get 2 points, which is basically just 1 kill. For silver, they need at least 4 points. And for gold, killers need to get 8 points, and of course, 10 points for iridescent. But what's striking is that gap between gold and silver emblems. This requires killers to minimally obtain 3 kills with 9 hooks and hooking every survivor just once just to get that gold emblem. So what does this mean, and why is this a big deal? Well, if a killer has sacrificed 3 survivors, achieving 9 hooks and hooking every survivor once, this necessarily means they are winning at least 18 chases in reasonable time, enough so for a gold chaser, which means they are also hitting and hooking survivors enough for a gold malicious, which therefore also means they're doing a decent job at defending generators. Now remember, again, the devs' design philosophy: 2 escape and 2 die. If a killer is only getting 2 kills, that means that they are not hooking survivors enough, and likely have not hooked each survivor, which also means they are not getting sufficient chases, even when they win them quickly, which also means they're not doing enough damage to survivors. And finally, if they aren't hooking or hitting survivors, they probably aren't defending generators all too well, since without a dreaded key, survivors are required to open the gates in order for 2 of them to leave. So what does this have to do with the ranking system? Simple. In order for a killer to rank up, they essentially need to get a gold in Devout every match. Although it is possible to rank up from rank 16 to 9 while only getting 2 kills, it is very difficult since a silver in Devout reflects that a killer is performing at a mediocre level. Once killers reach purple ranks, however, gold Devout becomes a hard minimal requirement in order to rank up. So, to summarize, when you're a survivor who overperforms and decimates killers of every rank, this is a good thing, and there is no need to change anything since everything the survivor side is working as intended. However, if a killer can show that they consistently perform well between rank 16 and 1 and can regularly rank up, they're overperforming and need to be nerfed. Since Gold Devout is the standard requirement for ranking up, this means yes, without any doubt, the game is in fact balanced around rank 16 survivors, with no cap on how well survivors are expected to perform. Now, the developers have made it pretty clear that they have no intention of balancing the game for competitive play, and that's well and fine, but even for casual play, this is incredibly unbalanced, and this imbalance has bred a special sense of entitlement in many survivor players, and also resentment in many killer players, all of which has contributed to Dead by Daylight's highly toxic and overly competitive environment. So how do we fix this? As it stands, the emblem system works just fine for survivors. However, killers need a different standard of rating in-game performance that not only is designed to not punish them for performing well, but is also more aligned with the developer's design philosophy. Once the devs establish a more balanced ranking system for killers, they then must turn to survivors and place a cap on their expected performance, much like they have done with the killers. I have some ideas for changes that could be implemented into the game to help resolve many of these issues. Unlike others who have made suggestions for how the game could be best balanced for competitive play, I'm going to try and look at this from the developer's perspective and see how best to improve this game for casual play. Now, yes, I understand that by being a PvP game, by its very nature, it is inherently a competitive game. But that doesn't mean that it can't still be a casual style of play. Or there can't be it, at least. And the reason I'm taking this different approach is that the simple truth is a balanced game would still benefit the competitive side of the community, even if the game isn't catering to them. So yes, it is possible to still have a fun, chill game about scary survivors and the brave killers who defend against them that's still balanced enough for competitive play. The trick is to balance the game around the developer's core philosophy, which would, in fact, result in a more fun, relaxed environment for the average player, and also to establish a win and loss condition. That's kind of an important thing too that seems to be lost in the devs, but moving on. Anyways, we're going to be discussing those ideas in future videos. For now, what are your thoughts? In the comments down below, let me know if you think the devs could ever possibly balance DBD, or if you think that DBD can even be saved or made into something greater than it is. Well, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to see all of you guys in the next video. Bye.